13, Luke 21, for example.
In 2025, P&O will be cruising as Carnival. With the new name comes new levels of joy, new heights of adventure, new oceans of fun. Now with up to $600 per room to spend on board. Book online at P&O Cruises.
Uncover timeless, healthy-looking skin with Olay Regenerist. Formulated with bioavailable niacinamide, it reduces the look of up to 10 years of wrinkles in 28 days. For firmer, plumper skin, Olay, recommended by dermatologists.
All right, guys.
Hi, Di. Yeah, the Wi-Fi dropped out on the TV, so it drops out on the tablet. It's a new Wi-Fi system, a new modem. So that's what's been going on, I think.
So I think it's time we come together and we have a discussion about what we're seeing happening in America. We are seeing, yet again, more of these extreme apocalyptic wildfires that seem to be abnormal, unusual, catastrophic, and unlike anything that even locals in these areas, whether it be Hawaii, whether it be California, they have never seen anything like this. They've never experienced anything like this. Even firefighters who have spent their entire careers fighting fires have testified of how they've never seen anything like this in the history of their entire residence in these areas. Then the victims of Hurricane Helene, which again, catastrophic, unprecedented hurricane that took a path that is so unusual, is like a once in a lifetime, once in 1,000-year trajectory that went up through the Appalachians, completely wiping out portions of North Carolina and Tennessee, and so on and so forth.
Well, I didn't know it was that bad.
This presents a very controversial and sensitive topic that we have to bring to the table today. Now, I know a lot of watchmen are out there, and God bless them. And many of them are going to cover a different angle than what I'm going to talk about today. Many of them are going to go to the conspiratorial aspect of this, which I'm not denying that there cannot be nefarious, sinister agenda behind the scenes. I'm not ignoring that at all. But today, I want to talk about something that a lot of preachers won't talk about. Many behind the pulpits will never speak about. And that is, could we be seen again? Now we're in 2025. Could we see the increasing magnitude of the judgment of God? Could we yet be seen more? A continuation of the hand of God's favor be lifted. And dare I say, the judgment of God sweeping America. We're going to cover all that and more in today's podcast. Let's go.
The following program is brought to you by friends and partners of End Time Headlines.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. You're tuning into End Time Headlines, news and headlines from a prophetic perspective. Of course, I'm your host, Ricky Scaprell, the founder and the voice of End Time Headlines. Listen, I hope that you are enjoying your day. If you do not have the threat of a fire breathing down your neck or extreme bitter cold, possibly your power grid failing, if you've got a warm bed to lay in, If you even have a house to put the bed in, you're very blessed today. I am very blessed today. I am very thankful for this. But there is countless scores of individuals out there, whether it be in the Appalachians, whether it be in California and parts of Los Angeles, whether it be up in the north or northeast, they are living in conditions right now that are third world conditions because of the ongoing slaughter of endless disasters, whether it be extreme flooding, extreme fires, whether it be extreme bitter colds through polar vortexes that are breaking records, whatever the case. And before we do it, we just want to welcome everybody. Listen, if you're listening by Apple or Spotify, you guys listening by podcast, we welcome you. We appreciate you. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Do us a favor if you enjoy our content. Give us a good review. That's going to help us out there with the podcast in that arena. If you're listening by Rumble, by YouTube, help us out. Hit that like button. That's going to push us out on the algorithm so others can find us and get eyes on our ministry. If you're new, first time joining us, let us know in the comment section below or the chat or whatever the case may be, or whatever platform you're on. Let us know that you're new and where you guys are joining us from. We'd love to welcome you. Our admins are here. They're going to welcome you with a warm welcome. And listen, we love you already. We welcome you to the program. We welcome you to the ministry of End Time Headlines. And I promise you, we're not only going to inform you, we're going to equip you. We're going to feed you. We come together on Monday nights for prayer right here on YouTube. We try to cover all these bases. So without further ado, guys, I want to get into this. Of course, today, as I said at the very introduction of this is going to be a very sensitive topic because of the nature of what I'm going to be discussing. But I want to get you to the latest of what's going on in California. Let's go right over here. I'm going to pull this article up. They're now calling this the largest fire in history. In this, I assume it's in California or if it's in the Los Angeles region, but they're saying this is historical.
That'd probably be historical firestorm. I can't think any cities are. London was burned down in 1066, so maybe it's not the worst.
And the largest in history. Here's an official headline again. Let me hit the refresh on this. Firefighters continue to battle blazes as Los Angeles braces for more days of fire weather. At least 5 individuals have lost their lives. More than 2,000 structures have burned, and at least 130,000 residents are under evacuation orders because of the wildfires burning across LA County. Someone from the Los Angeles Fire Department, it was the chief of the Los Angeles Fire Department, said, quote, "We are absolutely not out of danger."
Hey, yet. Johnny, welcome back.
Now, we've got a lot of video to show you because we want to show you, and it is heartbreaking and it's shocking the extent of the damage that is being shown out here. Here's a video. Again, we're going to have several clips, guys. We're going to watch these together. Let's check this out.
Thanks, Smith. We start this morning with breaking news in Southern California. The deadly wildfires burning across the Los Angeles area, reducing entire neighborhoods to embers and ash. One of the latest fires to break out late Wednesday is now burning through areas of the Hollywood Hills. More than 7,000 firefighters and emergency responders have been deployed to LA to work directly with local and federal partners to help evacuees and anyone with injuries. The inferno's already taking the lives of at least 5 people, some of whom couldn't make it out in time or chose to stay behind to try to protect their homes. Others making harrowing last-minute escapes as fire surrounded their neighborhoods and they realized they just couldn't stay. Tens of thousands of people across the LA area now displaced by those fast-moving flames. Some already know they've lost their homes to those fires, including several celebrities sharing their heartbreak at the devastation. Others still don't know what they'll come back to when the fires finally subside. We have full team coverage on those wildfires this morning and the destruction, the response also, and how the weather is playing into the efforts to put them out.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with News Nation's Xavier Walton on the ground in Southern California. Xavier, show us what's going on.
Yeah, Shawnee, I spoke to Phil on Facebook yesterday. I told him my electricity was down for 3 days. That's why I haven't streamed. But I don't know why he's not here.
Going on where you are.
Hey, Nick, good
Wow, guys, look at that behind him. It literally looks like a nuclear bomb detonated in Los Angeles. Unbelievable.
morning. Yeah, for another day, families waking up to this devastation as a fire truck goes just behind me. Now, this is something that we've been seeing all morning long. Fire trucks certainly passing by and checking on different hot spots. And we're going to walk across the street here, and here's why. I mean, everywhere you go, you see cars like this completely charred. Obviously, this has been here for a little while. And then you see active fires like this home. And since we've been here, we actually watched and heard. It was a loud crash. Heard the garage cave in, and then we watched the fire crews come in and kind of sprayed. Obviously, this home is a total loss. But what they were doing when I talked to the fire crews, they said they were spraying the fire to make sure that.
Now I've seen a lot. Again, we're going to talk. We got to talk about this. We can't sweep it under the rug. There's been a lot of discussion online. Now we're talking about Reddit, Telegram, Facebook, Instagram, all over the place, where individuals are comparing this fire to the Maui fires, the Lahaina fires, those fires that broke out in Hawaii. Remember that? Where there was cars that were melted on their frames. That there was nothing left. There was just metal. And all around them is decimated, destruction, apocalyptic. But yet there's trees standing fully intact. Here's one right here. Here's a whole tree still intact. This is greenery and shrubbery, and you're going to see this all over the place. And this has sparked a lot of controversy, and this fuels conspiracy, where in which they will they'll equate this to these type of weapons that are being used. And again, I don't have anything for that, guys. I'm not going to pull up conspiracy sites and this and that, because that's not what I'm doing today. But I'm saying we're not going to ignore it. This is why I said these fires are unusual, they're bizarre, it's weird. And I'm sure if we went out there and dug, there would be some type of scientific explanation. There'd be some meteorologist that could explain, some expert in wildfires that could tell us why this is possible and how this can happen. And it has to do with the wind current and the pull and the elevation and this and that. So again, we just want to throw that out there because we know that it's coming in the comments. So you guys do what you want with that.
The flames wouldn't spread to the house next door. Now, as you're looking at this house, keep in mind, obviously the winds have died down, but you see the embers going up into the night sky. Obviously, it's the early morning here. That is still a main concern here, is watching out for other fires starting, watching out for hot spots as you see what's left over here. Again, more than 1,000 structures, including 2 schools, destroyed, so to speak. Essentially, at this point, Nick, they're trying to make sure that these situations, these fires don't spark up and get even worse. But certainly with zero containment, like you mentioned off the top, the level of concern is still there. We spoke to at least one family coming in this morning to pick up their belongings, and they said watching everything play out on the news in real time, they were just absolutely terrified.
Absolutely. Our hearts go out to each of them.
All right, I want to look at this article from the Daily Mail, how a tiny spark in Los Angeles backyard. So they're saying that's the ground zero of this. Was a tiny spark in Los Angeles in a backyard ignited the city's worst ever fire. So again, this is historical, guys. This is the worst historical fire. Historically speaking, this is the worst fire in Los Angeles history. And it ravaged within hours and is still raging out of control. Look at these pictures. These images, guys, are absolutely breathtaking. It literally looks like a small tactical nuke was detonated in parts of Los Angeles. They're calling this a, quote, perfect firestorm. They're saying this thing incinerated 20 square miles of mansions and is still out of control. Now look at this. Again, we're just going to get this out there because this is where it's going. This is what they're going to tell us. They're going to, that all of the mainstream media is going to come up with an official narrative for this. And here we go. All right, scientists at the University of California, Los Angeles have put the fire down to a global pattern of what they're calling hydroclimate whiplash. Who's ever heard such a thing? But this is it. Hydroclimate whiplash, which is rapid swings between intensely wet and dangerously dry weather. Experts say that heavy rains from El Nino last year fueled vegetation growth in the LA area, which had since dried out and become highly flammable. And I guess this is what happened in Hawaii too, right? Once the flames ignited, Southern California was, quote, battered by devil winds. Interesting. Formerly known as Santa Ana winds, warm and gusty northeast winds that blow from the region's interior toward the coast. Unlike the usual winds which come in from the Pacific and blow cooler, most air inland. Most air inland. Excuse me. Again, look at these images, guys. Absolutely apocalyptic images. Here's a man walking up. Look at this house burning. Could you imagine? I can't imagine what these poor people are going through. Look at this. Again, this looks like something out of a movie. It doesn't even look real. And one thing I want to cover is all the controversy that's centered around this too. And even President Trump got up and blasted Governor Newsom and the entire government there in California and this administration and crucial things that led up to the incompetence that we're seeing. For example, check this out.
It is so taxing on the water systems. They're not designed to deliver water at a high volume capacity to every home in a neighborhood with their sprinklers running, feed the fire hydrants for the fire engines. And that makes the firefighters have to do anything and everything they can to draft water out of different sources. And it's fairly common to see floatal pumps put in pools, hose lines laid out from floatal pumps to houses surrounding that area. So to hear that does not surprise me. We're going to have water issues with this fire.
Yeah, does this sound familiar to anyone? This is the same. This is what happened in Hawaii as well. It's amazing. They live by oceans, yet they have water shortages. It's absolutely, it's mind-boggling, isn't it?
Until it's out in these areas, and it's not because we don't have any water. The system is overloaded. You know, you think about every house you see burned down, there's a real possibility that the water is free-flowing because pipes have failed. There's nobody to shut it down at the main shutoff. And then think about the hundreds of fire engines that are trying to connect up and fill their tanks and do a sustained water supply off a fire hydrant.
Sean, you see them cars that are burned out, their rims are melted, their rims are totally melted, and you can't get that from a petrol and vinyl seat fire. You can't get the rims melting from that. You can from a direct energy weapon.
You know, we're hearing a lot of discussion about a lot of different things. And for me, I kind of want to stay away from it in that the system is overloaded and it's just common in this kind of a fire situation in this interface area. And ingenuity is the name of the game. Right now, firefighters, they look for every opportunity to stop forward progress or save buildings, but their primary focus right now is lives.
Look at this stretch of area, guys. All this is burning in Southern California.
Sure, nobody's in there.
I'm so glad you broke that down for us, because you too have heard the criticism about why wasn't there more water? Why weren't they prepared for this? And you just broke it down that we are prepared, but we can't force this water that we don't have.
That's true. And it's the water systems. They're fragile. You know, we saw similar things in Lahaina. When the water system goes down, that affects everything. It affects us. The electrical system, you see that both power and communication utilities are some of the first to fail in these wildfire situations. The one
Guys, do you realize how terrifying it is to watch this unfold in real time and how unprepared these places are? Now, and think about this. The reason why I'm bringing this up, God forbid if we were ever to get hit with a EMP, we were to get hit with a cyber attack that struck our infrastructure, run down our power grid. Listen, if we're unprepared, if Los Angeles, who is known for earthquakes and wildfires, are unprepared for such disasters, do we have confidence in our infrastructure and our government that's going to come to our aid in the event of a larger threat, such as an attack on our soil, attack against our infrastructure, an EMP, whatever the case may be? What about, it makes me wonder, what about the folks in and around that live in the proximity of the New Madrid fault line? All those guys, you guys living in Knoxville, Nashville, Memphis, all through Tennessee. What about in Arkansas? What about in Kentucky? What about in Indiana and Indianapolis? Are you guys prepared? Is FEMA, and if you're relying on FEMA, then go look at the scrapbook of the Appalachians and Helene and look at their footwork there. I'm sorry, guys. As I said, we're on our own. We have to be prepared as much as possible, and we leave the rest in God's hands. Lord, help these people. Help these people in California, the ones that are innocent of this. And we're going to get into that, guys. That's a lot of theological stuff that we're going to tackle that today. Yeah, right now we're giving you information, but we're going to give you revelation in a minute. So you need to hang in there for a minute.
The one thing that is alarming here is it's the population base that lives in the Palisades and getting into Santa Monica. Now you're just seeing we have a lot of people living down there, and this fire is kind of transitioned from a brush fire into these neighborhoods, and the fuel, rather than being straight brush and chamise and shrubs and all those things, now it's the houses. And right now, the one thing, if you ask any firefighter if they could control one thing in this fire, it would be the wind. Eliminate the wind and take the weather out of the equation. And until we see improving weather conditions, it's just going to be near impossible for firefighters to begin to get their containment lines set in.
Okay, let's stop here. So if we got any listeners, viewers that live in the state of California, you live in this region, you have relatives there, family members, co-workers, acquaintances. Now you know how to pray. Come on, intercessors. Now you know how to pray. Pray against the weather. Pray against the winds. The winds that's the oxygen that's fueling the fire. Pray, command those winds to cease. Oh, now, brother, you're getting into this stuff. Yes, Jesus was on a boat with his disciples and a storm rose up against them. And Jesus was taking a nice long nap. And the disciples woke him up because they were freaking out because the wind was about to sink the ship and a storm was about to sink them. And Jesus woke up, rebuked the winds, and he looked at them and said, "Oh, ye of little faith." Now, I'm going to tell you, somebody said, "Well, we don't have that kind of power." I'm sorry, but listen, your preacher may preach that. But Jesus, listen to me, Jesus would have not told them, "Oh, ye of little faith," if he did not believe and know that they had the ability to be able to pray that way. Elijah was a man with a nature like ours, according to the book of James, but he knew how to pray, and it was not just any prayer, it was an effectual, fervent prayer. And the Bible says that he prayed and the Lord shut the heavens up for 42 months. There was not a drop of rain. And Elijah was responsible for that. Well, I don't believe that. Well, then don't believe it. Don't pray. Get out of the way so that us who know how to pray and we can intercede and we can travail and pray. Come on, intercessors, pray. Let them pray. Don't be a stumbling block. Get out of the way. And I've said that about everything.
Hungry Jack's Ice Drinks. Rich, velvety smooth barista coffee over ice. Now at Hungry Jack's.
Recipes are simple to manage my super.
What if meditation could be that simple?
Gimme. Wash your ears.
Rest. Super simple.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
You might be more articulate in Italian. Pick up a language at uni and find out. Now 25% off new HEC subsidies. It pays to quit with Nicorette. You can save if you quit with help from Nicorette Quick Mist. One canister can replace up to 7 packs.
Sometimes we just need to see the possible.
Listen, I'm going to preach just for a second. This is,
Hey, boss, good to see you,
listen,
bro.
we're not CNN or Fox News. This ain't Joe Rogan. We're a spirit-filled ministry that takes news and headlines, and we give you a prophetic edge to it, a prophetic perspective.
Hey, I
And
was
I'm
never
telling
here.
you,
Good to see you.
These disasters are going to keep coming, so you better learn how to pray. If you don't know how to pray, you need to start learning. Get around. You know how I learned how to pray? I got around seasoned men and women of God who knew how to pray, and I would come and sit under them.
Going well, boss.
And
Haven't
listen
seen you for a
and
couple of days,
watch,
mate.
and they were examples unto me. They taught me how to pray, and this is how I've learned how to pray. So now I've taught my children how to pray. So when we get tornadoes or we get threatening weather, you know what we do? Our kids immediately know what to do. They start praying. They start interceding. And we have seen the sovereign hand of God move in situations that were very dangerous, that involved tornadoes when we lived up in the north. Thank God we got out of that area and we hardly deal with that anymore. But some of us don't have that luxury. Some of us, listen, if you live on the West Coast, you're going to deal with earthquakes. You're going to deal with wildfires. You live on the East Coast, you're going to deal with these hurricanes. You're going to deal with snowstorms likely. You live farther down in the South, you're again hurricanes, tropical storms, etc. So it doesn't matter where you live, guys. You're going to deal with these disasters, these extreme weather events. And listen, I know that we can tag it as climate, you know what, and global, you know what. But I'm also going to tell you that the Bible tells us in the Gospels of Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21, for example, it tells us that these events are going to only intensify like birth pangs. Even Jesus said in Luke 21 that the waves and seas will be roaring and men's hearts filling them for fear of the expectation of the things coming upon the earth. We're not to be fearful.
Boss, are them folks hitting Europe, are they? I didn't know that. They're full of nanoparticles.
As come on, sons and daughters of the Most High, but we are responsible to know how to pray and intercede. So I just had to get that off my chest. Now I'm going to move on, okay? And I want to show you. Let's look at some more articles here. Now I'm going to kind of dab into some stuff here that is revelatory, I believe. And it's going to be controversial. So you guys will buckle up, get some tough skin. And if you are easily offended, I want to go ahead and give you a disclaimer. You may want to tune out. You may want to turn the channel. If you're new here, listen, and you're used to ear-tickling ministries and preachers, this is definitely going to rock your world. And if you're not used to what I'm about to talk about here, then again,
Indeed we have, boss. Indeed we have.
Don't come in to the comments. Listen, if you want to get banned from our ministry on YouTube and whatnot, the number one thing is you come in there and call us a fearmonger, or you come in there and you say all this stuff, then that's going to get you banned because you don't understand what our mission statement is. Listen, we're not here to scare you. We're here to prepare you. You can call Jesus a fearmonger. when he said there'll be wars and rumors of wars and nation against nation again. When he laid it all out and told them, this is what you're going to see, this is what you're going to hear, this is what you're going to find. They could have called him a fearmonger, but he was preparing them. He wasn't scaring them, he was preparing them. Are you hearing what I'm saying today? So let's get into this. I thought it was interesting that, look at his headline. Hollywood stars whose homes have burned to the ground as devastating Los Angeles wildfires destroy California. Hollywood's largest celebrities are picking up the pieces after discovering their affluent neighborhood was reduced to ash and rubble when the California wildfires tore through the Pacific Palisades. The death toll of the historic infernos have now reached 5 as, again, there's 5 historic fires burning at once as heroic firefighters.
I think there's 26 deaths now.
Still battle, quote, hellish conditions on the front lines of at least 5 different fires. Now, I want to show you, this is interesting. I want to show you, this is a headline from the New York Post. Look at this title. Right, I'm going to put it right over here, somewhere up above me so you can see this, or we'll put it full screen here. And it says Hell LA or Hell-A. And it is a picture and it's an image showing these fires in Los Angeles, and they're calling it hell. They're referencing it to hell. Fire and fury as bad management leaves burning city without water. All right, the homes of Anthony Hopkins, John Goodman, and Miles Teller all are among those destroyed. So at least these 3, and there's many more, guys, while dozens of other stars now facing...
Diane, he kept his word and give him a pardon. I've got to give him that. Good on him.
Anxious wait alongside their neighbors to learn if anything could be saved. Apocalyptic fires, look at that, look at the language, tore through ritzy enclave of Pacific Palisades on Tuesday, rapidly spreading surrounding suburbs as a windstorm carried embers and debris in all directions. Residents fled and then waited with bated breath to learn more about their homes as news began trickling out of entire streets have been wiped off the map. Look at that. Entire streets wiped off the map. Firefighters were running out of water, and resources were being diverted to fight the fire on multiple fronts. Now the widespread devastation is becoming clear. So celebrities,
Shawnee, I'm surprised he didn't pardon himself. There must be a rule. Oh no, they prosecuted Trump. I don't know how Biden didn't pardon himself. That's a pretty weak link.
Shared devastation upon discovering their loss of their $1 million mansions. All right, here's one of them right here. This is James Woods. Listen to this.
Just, one day you swim in the pool and the next day it's all gone.
Actor James Woods breaks down on CNN as he talks about his neighborhood going up in flames. He shot this video as he was evacuating and saw to his horror his neighbor's house was engulfed in flames. The fire was moving down the hill, closing in on him from all sides.
Standing in my driveway getting ready to evacuate, it was like an inferno. Every house was on fire around us.
He escaped through a hellscape of disaster, taking refuge in a hotel. A neighbor who stayed behind sent Woods this video of his pool deck.
You're looking good. Your house is not on fire, but it's...
To compound the loss, Woods says his insurance company canceled his policy last month.
Every single thing that I...
Wow. Yeah, speaking of that, let me jump over here and let me show you this. I thought this was just, I couldn't believe. California insurer can't...
Shawnee, he mustn't be able to pardon himself because otherwise he would.
So policies, look at this, months before Los Angeles wildfires. Whoa. Now again, you want to talk about fueling conspiracies. So we have to, let's read on before I interject this because I don't want to jump the gun here, but let's read. All right, State Farm, one of the largest insurers in California, canceled hundreds of homeowners policies last summer in the Pacific Palisades. Look at this, in this very region, last month, 30 days before this event took place, in the exact location that this would be hit the worst, State Farm, for whatever reason, maybe we'll dig in and we'll figure it out together. We're going to read this together. They canceled the insurance to hundreds of homeowners.
Wow.
Again, the same area that is now being ravaged by devastating wildfire. The move was justified by the company as an attempt to, quote,
if he could, he would,
financial
Johnny.
failure as the frequency and severity of wildfires is growing in the Golden State, especially in at-risk zones. Now, I know, hold on. I know that I said that we weren't going to try to go into the conspiracy aspect of this, but guys, we can't ignore this because listen, I am well aware that there is an agenda and a blueprint for what we would call smart cities, these 15-minute cities.
Mm-hmm.
This was heavily discussed during the Hawaii fires, and now isn't it interesting? I'm just saying, isn't it interesting that State Farm? I'm pretty sure that these people are not prophets. I'm pretty sure they don't have a crystal ball. They're not seers. They're not fortune tellers. So somehow they had the inclination, they had a premonition to cancel and single out hundreds of homeowners in the very same location that 1 month later these fires would break out. And he said, well, Brother Ricky, they did this because they understood the growing severity of wildfires in the Golden State, especially in risk zones. Sure. Okay. Now, again, whatever makes you sleep better at night. But I'm going to tell you something, guys. This stinks big time.
I agree.
Okay. Again, we're going to cover all angles here, but we're going to give you revelation as well. So I don't want us to focus so much on the conspiracy aspect of this, as I think there's a deeper thing going on here, and we'll explain this. Okay. I'm not rushing through this podcast today, guys. Again, I understand if you're coming from TikTok and shorts, Facebook shorts or excuse me, Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, whatever, and you have a small attention span, we're going to lose you today because I'm taking my time and we're going to go through this because I want to leave no stone unturned on this.
Good.
In 2025, P&O will be cruising as Carnival. With the new name comes new
Wouldn't
levels of
catch me
joy,
dead on a
new
cruise
heights of
ship.
adventure, new oceans of fun. Now with up to $600 per room to spend on board. Book online at P&O Cruises.
Treat yourself to Hungry Jack's delicious iced drinks. Award-winning, velvety smooth barista coffee over ice, topped with indulgent whipped cream. Perfect any time of day, now at Hungry Jack's.
Connect your energy with PowerShop. Your new home will be enlightened when you move in.
Relax with the new Santal range from Mimosa. Stylish and comfortable.
Asked you for a visit anytime.
Now.
As the multiple fires currently burning through Southern California threaten to cause devastating losses for residents, many will likely need to rely on their insurers to get back on their feet after the blazes are contained. Quote, this is from State Farm. Our number one priority right now is the safety of our customers, agents, employees impacted by the fires and assisting our customers in the midst of the tragedy. This is a spokesperson from State Farm who told Newsweek in a response to a request for comment. Newsweek contacted the Office of Commissioner Ricardo Laura for a comment by email on Wednesday early morning outside of his standard working hours. Several private insurers have cut coverage in at-risk areas across California in the past 3 years, leaving homeowners scrambling to find options for coverage. Guys, who still lives in California? I know we got a couple here that are in. I just don't get it, guys. What is left for you? Well, Brother Ricky, we have amazing weather. Okay, I'll give you that. Amazing weather most of the time. But the taxes, the policies, the politics, the crazies, the wokeness, the agenda. I don't understand. And then we wonder why there is a mass exodus coming out of California. Well, I mean, my goodness, guys. All right, so apparently James Woods was one of these victims of State Farm. That, well, I'm sorry, we don't have you covered. Now, obviously, it's probably not a huge loss to him if he's a good steward of his finances. He's well off. You know, he's going to recover, unlike those folks in the Appalachians. They're not. Those people are not going to, they don't have the luxury of that. Let's get back.
I own this in this room. We got a basket of laundry, glasses, pills, and the keys to our car.
The Pacific Palisades is home to some of the best-known celebrities in America, and many were forced to flee.
So notice here, again, I want you, you've got to pay attention to this. This particular area, the Palisades, this area right here was well known for celebrities. That's very important when I get to the next part where we're going just a moment.
Billy Crystal, John Goodman, Anthony Hopkins, and Ricky Lake are among those whose homes were burned to the ground. Ben Affleck was photographed sitting in a car outside his home, staring in disbelief at the approaching flames. Comedic actor Josh.
Imagine being that guy. He's just been divorced from Jennifer Lopez again, and now his home's about to burn to the ground. And listen, oh, I would love to be like one of these Hollywood stars. I'd love to make it big. I'd love to be wealthy and rich and prestigious and have all the fortune and the fame. Yeah. Okay.
Dad watched aghast as the hill in front of his house is ablaze.
I have never seen flames from my house like this, ever. This is insanity.
Just 3 days ago, Adam Brody and Leighton Meester walked the red carpet at the Golden Globes. Now they're dealing with this, their $6.5 million mansion reduced to ashes. This heartbreaking video was posted by soap opera star Cameron Matheson, walking through the smoldering remains of his home. This is what's left, he wrote, sending so many prayers to everyone being affected by these fires.
We got a fire going on behind the house here.
Reality TV star Spencer Pratt could only watch helplessly as the fire crept closer to the home he shares with wife Heidi Montag and their 2 sons. You can see the concern on his face as the flames approach. They got away, but their house was gutted.
Leave the keys in the car so that we can move your car.
And Steve Guttenberg, the star of the Police Academy movies from the 1980s, is earning praise today after a TV reporter ran into him moving abandoned cars out of the way so his neighbors could evacuate.
It's really important for people to help each other.
All right. Also, now this has been circulating online. Joe Rogan's eerie warnings of LA fires resurfaces as blazes pummel Southern California. Resurfaced clips from Joe Rogan Experience show that the mega podcaster has been warning the right wind, that's not wing, right wind will catch one of California's many wildfires and burn through LA to the ocean. Rogan eerily wearing a LA Fire Department shirt while speaking with fellow comic Sam Morrill, I believe it's Morrill, in July. And this was back in July, and was sharing why he left Los Angeles. One of the reasons being that he was always waiting for the next fire. Quote, I was evacuated 3 times from my house from fires. Last one, 2 houses in front of my house burnt to the ground. So again, Rogan saw the writing on the wall, and he said this is one of the many reasons he left. He left that area. All right, so that leads me, now I've got about 15 minutes that I want to talk about this. Again, I want you to think about the full spectrum of what we've seen over the last 12 months, 24 months. We're seeing an intensification of these disasters and extreme weather. Again, we're seeing all 4 elements being fully displayed. We're talking about earth, wind, water, and fire. Now, you could take those 4 elements, earth, wind, water, and fire, and you could put all these disasters in those categories. Earthquakes, volcanoes, you can put flooding, you can put wildfires, you can put cyclones, you can put tsunamis, winter storms, you can put hailstorms, you can put tornadoes, you can put all that in those four categories. Now, in case you didn't know, the Bible is filled, and guys, I cannot go through all of these scriptures. Again, I've got to leave you to be able to, you got to do some of your own homework and do your own research. Okay? So I'm going to give you paraphrases and quotes, okay? And then you can look these up. But the Bible is filled with examples of where in which, when God brought judgment to nations, he used these four elements. Again, all of everything I just mentioned in the forms of earth, wind, water, and fire. These four elements were used to bring judgment upon nations. Now, when we talk about judgment, in the Bible, in Genesis chapter 6, it says that God looked upon the earth, and indeed it was corrupt. All flesh were corrupt. And he talks about violence was filling the earth. The entire earth was filled with violence. And from a Hebrew perspective here, this phrase in Genesis chapter 6, verse 13, it says, "And God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me. The earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth." This denotes the process whereby a verdict, listen to this, is very important, where a verdict is reached, or the verdict itself, it is bound up with notions of justice. Let me say that one more time. This passage of Genesis 6:12 through 13, when the Lord looked upon the conditions of the earth and saw that it was filled with violence, lawlessness, iniquity, transgressions, and he said that the end of all flesh has come, destruction will come. This denotes the process whereby a verdict is or has been reached, and it is bound with notions of justice. Translation: when the cup of iniquity has become full, God has no choice but, being a just God, begins to pour out his wrath upon these nations. And many times they are in the form of selective judgments. Now, what do I mean by selective judgments? It means you can have, one of the best examples is Genesis 19, wherein which you had 5 cities of the plains of Sodom and Gomorrah. There were 5 cities. All 4 of them, 4 of the 5 were decimated. One city called Zoar was intact, and it was where righteous Lot and his 2 daughters escaped out of the cities of the plains, and that's where they found refuge. But the other 4 met the fate of fire and brimstone. Now, in case you didn't know, the book of Ezekiel tells us that the cities of the plains were full of sin. They had fullness of bread. They had an abundance of idleness. They did not stretch their hand to the poor. They were full of pride, and sexual immorality was prevalent. I want you to remember that, okay? And that combination, all of these things went up before God, because the righteous that lived within those cities cried out to the Lord for his hand to bring, come on, justice, to bring a deliverer. One of those, according to your Bible, was righteous Lot, who the Bible says was vexed daily by the filthiness of the conversation of the wicked and the things in which he saw and which he heard.
Wow.
He literally witnessed it. He was living among it. And As the cries of the righteous went up before heaven, God himself sent 2 angels there to testify, to bear witness, to record what was going on, and to bring a report back to him. And this would ultimately decide the fate of the cities of the plains. Now we know the story. Eventually, read it. It's in Genesis 19. The angels told Lot, "Look, we have been sent here to warn you that judgment is coming. Fire and brimstone is coming out of heaven." Now, we could sit here all day and debate what was the fire and brimstone. Some scientists and some experts and volcanologists believe it was a volcanic eruption on the Dead Sea, and it exploded. And so thus the writer, when Moses, who wrote this, he was describing what we would call a volcanic eruption. And this would explain why Lot's wife, who turned back, was turned into a pillar of salt, because she was covered in all the volcanic ash and the salt from the Red Sea, from the explosion of the volcanic eruption. Now, there has been another camp out here of experts who believe that Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed by a cosmic event, an asteroid burst that came through, and it caused all this devastation. Now, again, I can't sit here and tell you definitively, well, it was this or it was that. I'm just going to go by what Moses wrote, and he said fire and brimstone fell out of heaven, and it destroyed the cities of the plains, and it spared one city called Zoar. But don't miss this. Those angels came to Lot and his family and said, "Look, God's going to bring judgment. Get everybody you can in your bloodline." Are you hearing me, intercessors? And get them out and get them to a city called Zoar. This is going to be your place of refuge. On this note, I want to say this right now before I lose this train of thought, and I don't want to miss this. I felt this in my spirit right here to say this. As we get closer to the end of the age and the coming of the Lord, you're going to see more and more disasters.
Yep, I agree on that.
Fires, earthquakes, floods, whatever the case is, depending on where you live, your location. These are going to intensify. But I believe, listen, as men and women of God, if we're close to the Lord, we stay in prayer, we stay in intercession, we stay in communion with Him.
That's heavy, Shawnee.
Come on, connected to Him in His presence. I believe the Holy Spirit can reveal to us when and if it's time to relocate, when and if it's time to move, and where, and how to respond, and what to do, and how to prepare in these events. For some of you, He may say, all right, it's time to pack up and get out of wherever you're at. For some of you, He may not give you that go. He may say, I don't want you to leave, I don't want you to pack up, but I want you to prepare accordingly. There's people around here that I need you to continue to be salt, be light to. Come on, I'm telling you, that's a word for somebody right here. But don't miss this. Same thing, guys, happened in Daniel chapter 4. The Bible says, this is in Daniel 4, 13 through 17. Again, guys, I apologize for not pulling up all the scriptures, but if we do this, this will turn into an hour and a half, 2-hour podcast. Let me read this. There was a decision by the decree of the watchers and the sentence by the word of the holy ones, in order that the living may know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men and gives it to whomever He will, and sets over it the lowest of men. There was a decree from heaven that was made, and judgment was pronounced on earth, and Nebuchadnezzar was the recipient of that judgment. He was driven out of his kingdom for a season, and his kingdom was given to another. Okay? You go to the book of Jonah, and the Bible says, Jonah chapter 1, verses 1 through 2, the word of the Lord came to Jonah and told him to arise and go to Nineveh and cry out and tell them to repent, for their wickedness has come up before God in heaven. That's in Jonah, remember? And Jonah, what did Jonah do? Initially, he didn't want to take the call. He didn't want to answer that call. He didn't want to have that responsibility. Listen to me, watchmen. Listen to me, men and women of God. If God has placed you on the front lines as a watchman, you have got to warn the people, lest their blood be on your hands.
100%.
As much as I'd like to talk about anything else and something else, didn't want to talk about this subject, I have to talk about this. I'm compelled to discuss this today. As a watchman, I have to warn the people and let them know. Jonah chapter 3, verse 10, God saw their works. What works? The people repented. They turned back to him. They turned from their evil way. And the Bible says that God relented from the disaster in which he said he would bring upon them, and he did not do it. Thus, he gave them a reprieve. Listen to me. God spared the Israelites in the time of famine through the hand of Joseph. He spared them in Egypt, making a distinction between the righteous and the unrighteous. In the day of Ezekiel, the righteous were marked with protection, while the wicked suffered at the hands of an invasion. Rahab, the harlot, her household and her was spared because she made a covenant with the men of God, and the judgment of God struck the walls of Jericho and they collapsed, yet she and her household was spared. Listen to me. Listen to this, preacher. All through history, God has a way to warn those in covenant with him of premature events before they take place. Come on. State Farm is not the only one that can see things coming. Come on, us in the Word of God know these things are coming. And he's telling us how to prepare. He's telling us how to make provision. He is warned through dreams. He warns through visions. He warns through visitation of angels. He warns through divine encounters, divine circumstances. And according to the word of the Lord, he hasn't stopped doing this today. He's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. Malachi chapter 3, there's a book of remembrance. God says, I will spare those who know me and that are in covenant with me. And Luke, in the book of Luke, it says, pray always that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that will come to pass. And we could go on and on and on, guys. But here's what I want to close with. This is where it's going to be very controversial. Listen to me. Many people do not realize, guys, that some of these locations that have either been decimated through flooding or burnt to the ground through fires were inundated, listen to me, with New Age practices, witchcraft, lawlessness. I can't even say this because I'll get flagged, but a very disgusting acts with children, selling children for gain and for pleasure. And that was, listen, that was heavily being done in that area in California, Los Angeles. Do I really need to go into this whole thing and go deep into Hollywood and talk about how demonic it is? And talk about the Illuminati factor in Hollywood, and talk about some of the the disgusting acts that we know of, and God forbid we ever find out what has been done in secret. Hello, P. Diddy. Do you realize in his quote unquote freak offs? Do you know how many of these celebrities and Hollywood stars were involved in that? You think God is just, listen, these guys may get off on this stuff. They may get off scot-free. They may walk away and not be guilty of this. But I'm going to tell you, you can't get away from the judgment of God. You can't run from God. That one day they will stand before God and they will be judged eternally. But I'm going to tell you, in the meantime, God is pouring out, I believe with all my heart, selective judgments. That region in California. Let's talk about, let's talk about the Appalachians. Let's talk about Asheville, North Carolina, that was decimated by Helene. You do realize, guys, that area is known to be a hub of witchcraft and New Age. You don't believe me? Let me pull up this article. This is a full. Look at this. This is from the Blue Banner. Again, this is a local. This is a local. This is from the Student Voice of UNC Asheville. This ain't some guy's blog. An enlightenment of witchcraft in Asheville. Look when this was written. This was written before Helene struck. This has been going on for years, guys. I have friends that are spirit-filled that live in Asheville, and they talk about how oppressive it is. Listen, we went and visited the Biltmore last year, and we stayed 3 days in Asheville. And listen, I'm sorry if this offends you. If anybody listening from Asheville, God bless you. But it was so oppressive. It was so oppressive you could cut it with a knife, and I was ready to get out of there because you could just feel the heaviness. Look at this. Witchcraft sparks conversation easily in a city like Asheville, but many people might not know where to start or a conscience of closed practices utilized by specific cultures. Witchcraft is a sacred fun, not dour, guilt-driven, or fear-based. It is based on a daily conscious choice, creativity, diversity, and inclusion with simple ancient ethics. Again, this was written by a high priestess recognized as Queen Lady Passion. And he goes on, you can read this whole article, guys. Again, Asheville, North Carolina was inundated with witchcraft. Do you know that Bourbon Street in Louisiana is inundated with all kinds of the occult, New Age, witchcraft, sexual abominations? I'm telling you guys,
in 2025, P&O will be cruising as Carnival. With the new name comes new levels of joy, new heights of adventure, new oceans of fun. Now with up to $600 per room to spend on board. Book online at P&O Cruises.
Hungry Jack's Ice Drinks. Rich, velvety smooth barista coffee over ice. Now at Hungry Jack's.
Say goodbye to expensive scratch repairs once and for all. This groundbreaking car spray will make your car look brand new without costing a fortune. It will
we read the book of Isaiah, and we read the book of Jeremiah, and we read about how God brought judgment to these nations that abhorred God. They turned from God, and they turned to idolatry, and they turned to abominations, and they practiced these things. We read about Genesis 19, and we think that these are just stories of the past. No, my friend, let me read this to you. Peter said this, for if God did not, this is in 2 Peter 2:4, if God did not spare the angels who sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them in chains of darkness to be reserved for judgment, and did not spare the ancient world, but saved Noah, one of 8 people, a preacher of righteousness, bringing the flood on the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes. I want to show you something here, guys. Look at this in 2 Peter 4. He mentions Noah and he mentions Lot. Now, who else did that? Jesus in Luke 17, as it were in the days of Noah, and as it were in the days of Lot. Now look at what he says here. Notice what he said. He did not spare the ancient world, but saved Noah, one of 8 people, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood. Somebody say flood. On the world of the ungodly. And verse 6, turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes. Somebody say fire. Flood and fires. Condemn them to destruction, making them an example. Type in example in the chat. So you have flood and fire and examples. Now look what it says here. These were all done as examples to those who afterward would live ungodly. Folks, listen to me. God ain't playing anymore. I know that so many preachers and Christians.
Shawnee, what one do you want me to play? I played your other one. I don't see another link by you.
Television and networks have presented this God who never gets angry. He's never just. He never brings judgment. He never brings correction. He never raises his voice. He doesn't make a cord or whip and run the money changers out of the temple. That's not the Jesus that they portray. They give us a one-sided, all-loving, all-inclusive Jesus that is not even the Jesus of the Bible. But listen, so when a preacher comes along, a watchman comes along, a man of God or a woman of God comes along, and they preach to you what I'm telling you right now, then again, that's why we're labeled as fearmongers. And that's why it's very resistant to receive this message.
I'll come back with this food.
On a dark, smoky freeway, pollution in the air, endless lines of U-Hauls, leaving despair. Up ahead in the distance, I saw a broken light. My wallet's empty, my rights are gone. I'm fleeing here tonight. Very slim in Sacramento, Kevin stuff on display. I came for his promises of equity and better way. He said he taxed the rich and helped the poor get by. And now I can't afford gas because the rent's too high. Getting out of this hellhole, California. What a lovely place, lovely state. Everything's ruined in hellhole, California.
I better stop this just in case I do copyright stuff.
It was paradise, now we're paying the price. His priorities were twisted, he waged a legal sin. As the welfare to Texas, and the state caved in. They live on streets of Skid Row, in despair and sweat. Someday to survive, using drugs to forget. So I called the governor, where did my paycheck go? He said it's because the progress is part of the show. Still the forces echo from the mansions to the streets. The rich live up in Beverly Hills by the poor beg at their feet. Getting out of this hellhole, California. What a rotten place, a broken state. Nothing but favorite hellhole, California. Watch your dream to carry on, as they carry you away. The mirrors on the skyline, the mountains shrouded in haze. In the schools they teach you genders,
Oh, yeah.
not the skills to amaze. And if you dare to question, he'll silence your voice. In this land of forced allegiance, you got no choice. Last thing I remember, I was packing up the car. I had to leave this sinking ship before it fell too far. Relax, I told myself, it's time for a brand new plan. I'm moving to a red state now, and never holding you again.
Okay, that was clever. Where'd he go? There he is. Actually, I'll finish with him. Let me load something else up.
Treat yourself to Hungry Jack's delicious iced drinks. Award-winning, velvety smooth barista coffee over ice, topped with indulgent...
Well, I think he is breaking the internet, my friends. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. And maybe what he said
is more true than people realize. We're going to actually get into a ton of stuff in this video. We're talking about, of course, Mel. We're seeing him on recently with Fox News saying something rather curious about, of course, LA fires. And now we also have a new thing that just came out as well today. You're not going to believe it. It includes also Stallone. We're talking about a new special appointment, special ambassadors to Hollywood. It's my honor to announce
Shorty does have me
Boyd,
skirting on the
Mel,
edge
and Sylvester
sometimes.
Stallone as special ambassadors to the great but very troubled place, Hollywood, California. And indeed, I think it is pretty obvious that it's pretty troubled. And recently, Mel had to say this. Check this out.
That's with the water. Letting reserves go for one reason or another. They've been doing that a while. California has a lot of problems that sort of baffle the mind as far as why they do things. And then in the events like this, you sort of look, is it on purpose? Which it's an insane thing to think.
Yeah, it's indeed. Sounds insane. But is it as insane as it sounds, right? Obviously, he says there, was it on purpose, right? And actually, what's interesting is we're going to get into something rather curious that I discovered today. As I was musing around on the internet, I found something about fog and how it may actually relate to what happened in LA, because they actually had fog about 5 days before this that smelled strange. And actually, you won't believe some of the stuff I discovered. We're going to be getting into that and much more in this video. I found out something pretty crazy. I was just curious, again, like usual. I'm watching this video from Judgements. He's James LaFleur. He's the guy that is Impossible channel. He's been around a long time. He's been around as long as I have. One of the few guys that's been around as long as I have that's still around. And he found something rather curious, okay, about this fog. It's crazy. And it relates to these fires. Believe it or not, maybe. There's a weird connection going on. We'll see it. We'll get into it. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means. You'll tell me as we get farther in this video. But we're going to get through a number of things as we get to it. We're going to talk about what's going on with the some of these companies. It's just getting crazy. What's going on all around the world. Japan just had 10,000 bankruptcies last year. 10,000. Bro, are you kidding me? The world is literally, we're talking massive economic crashes going on right now. And I told you we have charts. We have 3 different charts saying we're going to have a massive crash literally in the next month or less. Okay? I'm guessing as soon as 47 gets in, it's going to crash, and then they're going to blame it on him when it clearly isn't his fault. I mean, he's been there like 2 days, and like, oh, it crashed. It's going to be something like that. I just know it. China just pumped a ton of money, historic level money, into their financial system. Remember what we did back in 2020 and how it caused all this inflation we see now? They just did it. This is like, they've already got a terrible economy. So it's like game over for their economy because they just did that. Next 3 years, game over for their economy. And that makes you wonder about a number of things, strange things that have been happening recent. These drones, this, of course, fog, we got the fires. And I'm going to actually tie a little bit of this together, particularly the fog and, of course, the fires, because we have some really strange stuff that's been happening. All right, let me play this clip first, and it'll kind of give you an understanding of what I'm trying to get at. Okay, check this out. So this is some stuff growing on the ground from after the fog. Let me just play this clip. This is from James LaFleur's channel, Judgements.
Is it just me, or does it seem kind of strange? There's stuff in it.
All right, time for another snow test. Same exact thing. Y'all tell me what on earth this is supposed to be.
So, yesterday and today was really hot. This
You see that growing? Okay, I think that's fecal matter from their cat or dog or something. I don't know. There's multiple on the ground, but there's this 3-inch long hairs growing off it from like a day or two. I think it's like a couple days, and that's grown 3 inches. What is that? Right? So this is very bizarre. You saw what that guy had on his pavement. People are mentioning that weird stuff is going on with regards to they would smell sort of like a fireworks smell from it. Again, this was something that happened back on the 23rd through the 30th through into I think like early January. It was happening all across the world. And what's really strange is you'll notice as we'll get into this that he pulls up some weather maps and he shows that actually fires started sort of, I don't know how to explain it, like in tandem with sort of the fog. It's not conclusive, or it's not really per se. It's more like what do you call it? Circumstantial, maybe, I guess you would say. It's something like where you could say there's something happening, or maybe not. You don't know, but it is so weird that the fog happens, and then after that, then you got these fires. So, what is inside this? What is this fog, right? What is it? And that's the question. And I'm going to show you something else, something really ridiculous I found that has to do with these houses. Like some of these houses, you remember, you'll see these huge areas of no houses, right? And you have like one house right in the middle, right? I'm going to show you what might have happened with that. I might have figured that out too. So we're going to get into all that and much more as we get into this video. First, I'm going to mention food supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. 4 weeks worth for $187. You're going to definitely want to get this. You can see how wonderful things are around you. My friends, you might want to have this just in case. Never know what's next. You have all these stores around us closing. We just had, this link is in the description for that if you haven't already got that, my friends. You just had Jo-Ann Fabrics file their second bankruptcy in a year, Chapter 11. You got all these companies going out of business left and right. Mm-hmm. You had a comics, the biggest comics distributor in the world, just filed for bankruptcy. Comics distributor Diamond, world's biggest English language comics distributor, is selling off assets, scaling business back in order to survive. That comic right there might look a little familiar. Filing Chapter 11. And of course, just in one city alone, you have 5 Walgreens closing in Chicago. So you get kind of the idea. You see how the economy is doing terrible. You have here on top of that the most recent.
Your room is amazing. Let's celebrate. Every stretch, every spoon, every day, every night. Amazing. Amazing. What a little spoon can do.
The Subaru sale event is on, with a sporty all-wheel drive Subaru Impreza hatch now starting from $33,990 recommended drive-away price. It's you and Subaru for a world discovered. See you out there.
Electrify Now is AGL's free tool that helps estimate your savings by going electric.
There's a chance of that.
Retire with 2024's Super Fund of the Year, so you can stop working and keep.
Recent data is out. December, U.S. government total revenue $454 billion, paid $140 billion in interest just to the national debt. That's 31% of all the money came in, went to the debt, and actually it's not even, it's an inflated number. This isn't even accurate. So this $454 billion is not even accurate because it includes Social Security and unemployment insurance money. So if you actually look at the real income coming in, individual income taxes, $211 billion, that's half as much. That means technically if you go off that alone, you're talking 60% of all the money went to interest payments only on the national debt. That's how bad it's gotten. All right? And I just wanted to throw that in there. The fact is, it shows you just how bad our economy is. You can see all these weird things happening, which I think is more than just some random occurrence, okay? Because the reason why I say that is because usually whenever economies all across the world start failing like this, that's when those, of course, at the top start looking for other ways, alternative ways to stay up there at the top. For example, World War II is a good example of this. Remember, it actually got us out of the Great Depression. So we were in the Great Depression for 10 years, and they got us out of it with World War II. A lot of people don't ever think of it that way, but that's actually what happened. So sometimes they do strange things to, stay where they want to be when everything's else falling apart, right? Anyway, also this book here, The Lost Ways, how your great-great-grandfather lived without electricity, out of a cellar, do things around the house like the good old days, hundreds of pages illustrated. You're going to want to get that book as well. Get the printed version, $37 for shipping. And you're going to be able to buy it at Walmart when the power's out. All right, so let's get over to this whole topic. We have TikTok prepares to shut down on Sunday. Well, what's interesting about that is a lot of these videos that have been coming out are on TikTok about the fog. For example, this one right here, Tampa, St. Pete, Florida.
Fog should lighten, dissipate, and it's really not. But the weirdest part is the taste and smell. It smells like after you set off a bunch of fireworks, and like the taste of the air is, the only word I could think of is toxic.
So it smells like fireworks, is what he said. Interesting. And here's a map. This is again from James LaFeur's channel. And he shows how, let me set it right because I already played it once. Give me a sec here. So he shows here that there was no fire in the area. So why would it smell like fireworks? There's no fire in the area or even around it. So why would there be any smell like fireworks?
Right, let's check out for fires in Tampa Bay. So let's check this region on December 26th for fires. And as you can see here, air quality, CO, and then the dates. Nothing.
So he shows that there's nothing on all the dates, that there's no reason for the smell to be in the air. So why is there this smell? Good question. Also, it seems to be happening all across the world. I did a video talking about this before, probably a week or two ago, about how there was like over 30 locations, probably a lot more than 30 actually. There was like 30 different states I know that had people.
Diane, that Canada and Greenland, that link up, they got the 10 kings laid out in different color codes on the world. I just wonder if what Trump done with Canada and Greenland, I wonder if that's his kingdom.
Reporting this online. We had also even Manchester. What's going on with Manchester?
For 4 days now, 4 days in a row. Normally, just behind these buildings, I can see for miles out of my window, but I haven't been able to see past these buildings here, barely seeing this main road since the 23rd.
Them fogs have got nanoparticles in them. I think people will start getting turbo cancers because of this.
December. It's now the 27th. And I know what fog is.
He says he knows what fog is. He goes on and says, and actually it went on longer than that, by the way. This lady here, she's talking about it being on day 5 already.
Gas mask, like what is happening in the UK at the minute with the weather? Because all this fog has been here for about 5 days now, and it is literally not budging. And I have never seen a fog like this, what stayed for longer than 5 days, will not dissipate whatsoever. And I've woke up today with a sore throat. It's obviously the shit that we're breathing in, because I don't feel like this is a normal fog. This is some.
Yes, indeed. And they also talk about a smell with regards to this fog. Also, you have here another person. Everyone keeps talking about it all over the world. I'm in Boston. I couldn't see the building next to me. It was so foggy yesterday. Also, the air smells weird. Yeah. Any other people in other states having this fog, right? So you can obviously we talked about this. I showed a massive list of people saying this. And this is the part right here where it started making my brain churn. The wheel in there started moving, like, and my brain started working, you know what I mean? Where James LaFleur is talking about this over here. Check this out.
December 3rd, we have a few fires going on in the Northern Hemisphere, like Europe and the US. After December 23rd, look at that.
So we have here, of course, him showing that there's some weird correlation, or at least appears to be some sort of weird correlation between these fog and these fires. Maybe. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. It's like it's all across the world while this is occurring. And so it made me wonder, is there some sort of connection between the two? So I started looking around a little bit. And so let me show you something here. This is LA on the 30th. As you can see, extremely foggy, right? Now, looking at this stuff, it just don't look right. What is that? I literally, when I saw these videos, I literally went and bought on Amazon a bunch of, masks. I'm talking the real ones, not the ones they were telling us to wear around, but the ones that actually can filter something out, has like a breathing device in it and stuff. You know what I mean? Like a real one that actually is like these for painting.
Smart move.
Because I was like, I don't want to have that stuff in I don't want to be breathing any of that stuff. I don't know what that is. So obviously this is not snow. This is not rain. What is that? What is that? I mean, it looks like you went up in your attic or something in some old house and just beaded everything, and it's just like stuff everywhere. It just looks like dust. Something really not right, you know? And so my theory is, could there be some sort of connection? So we have on the 30th, huge fog in LA. When did the fire start? January 7th. Okay, that's like a week later. I don't know if the fog kept going for a little while. I'm not sure how it was in LA. Did they have fog for a few days there too? I don't know. But it was a few days later, you had these fires. And that was what he showed with this map back here, is that they seem to have some sort of weird correlation. Although it's circumstantial, it's not like real evidence. It's just kind of like, is there something there? We don't know, right? Then I started thinking about this. I'm like, wait a second. Okay, wait a second here. So I was looking around and I saw this video about this guy, and he had a house, and it's in like he's the only house left in the entire area. And I was like, and then I started looking around more, and I saw this guy who's apparently what do they call it? A forensic arborist. A forensic arborist is a tree expert who provides expert opinions in legal disputes, insurance claims involving trees. Okay, so look at this. Look at this picture. So you have all these cars stopped here, and they all left because of the fire, right? Then you have all these cars right here, just completely melted. Look at this. You see these lines on the ground? That's melted glass, liquid glass. Just, like water rolling out. That's liquid glass. That doesn't make sense because it takes thousands of degrees to get that hot, right? These trees are fine. These trees are fine. These cars are fine. It's just these cars right here are just literally thousands of degrees, somehow burnt at thousands of degrees and melted the glass onto the ground in a liquid form. What is going on there? He showed all these other weird pictures. He said this is actually how a forest fire looks. The trees actually burn. And so you would expect there to be at least some trees looking like this, but we don't really see any like that. Then he showed these other weird pictures, and I started really thinking about it, like, whoa, what's going on here? So he shows, and I was trying to explain it away at first. So like he shows these nails in this board, and everywhere where the nails were, there was a burn mark. And I was like, okay, well, maybe there was something like paper, I don't know, something hanging on this, right? And then that's why it burnt right there only, right? I was thinking that in my head. Like I was trying to explain it away. And then he showed other pictures. And I'm like, well, this is just a random fence post on somebody's property, and the only burned places are where the metal is. And he showed other pictures too, like this. He showed a bunch of them. Let me show you another one. He had a picture of a sign. Where's that one? Let me open up another window of this. Okay, wait 1 second here. Let's just do it this way. I want to open it right. Let's open it this way. Go here. Okay, so where was it? He showed a picture of a sign like this too. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Look at this. The only place it got burnt is where the bolt is. Why? That doesn't even make sense. So wherever the metal is where it burns. Right? You see how that is? And I was thinking, okay, well, in normal
and that's a pretty solid fence post. A lot of that's burnt, so must have been a high fire.
Circumstances, that doesn't make any sense. I don't think that would occur in normal circumstances. Yep. You wouldn't have all the burn marks where the metal is. That's kind of weird. So I was thinking about this fog. What was in the fog? Like, was there a certain chemical that maybe reacts with metal in certain circumstances when fire's present, where the metal and this chemical and the fire together ignite wood around metal? It's just a theory. I'm not saying it's true. I don't know. Who knows? But then I started looking around more, and I'm like, whoa, wait a second. The houses that remained. Let's go look at these things. So I'm looking at these houses. You got this one house in the middle of nowhere. It's the only one left. Like, why is this one house okay? All the other ones are gone. What's going on with that? So here's the house. I'm like, okay. So let's look at this house closer. I'm looking at this house. And notice, if I can get my mouse on the screen, notice this is not wood. This is concrete. This is concrete. I think this is concrete. I don't know what the side is here, because you see this is wood right here, obviously. I don't know what this is. Is this wood or concrete? I don't know what that is. But what I noticed about the siding, look at the siding. It's wood siding. And it doesn't look like it might not be nailed. It might be glued siding. Yeah. They actually do in some cases. So lots of people, they'll have like a vinyl side.
Diane, if that fog settled here, I'd jump in a car and drive 100 miles and stay there in a motel until the fog clears. There's no way I'd sit around and ride it out.
Thing with nails, right? That's usually what you have. But there's are a few people out there who have wood siding, and of those few people, a few of those people will have no nails. They'll just be glued, right? That looks like it could be just glued. That might be just glued wood siding. And then there's another house that didn't burn down. Let me show you that one. And it looks like it's wood siding without nails. It also may have been just glued. Wood siding without nails looks just like it. You see that?
Yeah.
Wood siding without nails. This guy, his entire neighborhood burned down except for his house. Check this out.
Which has nothing to do with a bushfire.
Drive. This is the corner house on the left side of my house. This is across the street, the corner house, and the two houses in front, and the entire street on my side, is burnt down on my block, except for my house.
God bless everybody else
Arrived.
with plenty of insurance.
See, look at his siding there. I don't see any nails. Is that a glued siding?
To rebuild.
He does have metal on the doorknob, unless there's like, maybe it's because it's painted. Maybe there's an issue there. It's not just out fresh. You know, nails that are usually put in the siding are not painted. So that might be a factor too. This is, I don't know what this is. That looks like a strange metal. I don't know what's going on.
Sure is, Di.
God knew what he had to do to protect me.
Look, he's got a metal, what is that, a metal container?
I'm an idiot.
The metal container looks like it's melted almost or something. It looks deformed.
I might not have had insurance. I don't know.
It looks so weird. So look at that. That's not siding at all. What is that, cement? Again, just like the other house. Is that cement? What is going on with that siding? That is not normal. I don't know what that is. So he even points out that his logs were burnt, and he even shows that in the background behind his house, all the houses are gone. So I'm just curious if there's something going on here where it has something to do with their type of siding they used. If they have like they have concrete and then they have siding without nails, if there's some factor in that's going on, because both those houses have concrete and wood siding. It looks like without nails, instead of vinyl, or vinyl obviously is nailed into the wood, and also you have drywall. Drywall is very, very flammable as well. So I'm wondering if it has something to do with how the buildings were built. Is there some factor going on there? You had, of course, the director of LA County Public Works misspeak. I'm assuming this is a misspeak here, where he says, just listen, it's so ridiculous.
Communities back and rebuild them better than they were when we started this fire.
He accidentally said they started it, so I think that was a misspeak there. Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to say that. So what's really bizarre is you had also some weird clips. I mean, there's so many weird things, okay? Check this out. So you had Ben Affleck talking with police in LA during the fires about unauthorized drone activity that interfered with firefighting efforts. So Ben Affleck is reporting that there were drones around his house and that they were trying to investigate this. It's so bizarre. Why are these drones also in the fires? I saw the guy that won the lotto, the biggest lotto ever. He won like $2 billion. He lives in California. He bought 3 huge homes in California. One of the homes he kept posting, I think on TikTok, that he kept seeing drones, and that was the only house of his that burned down. It wasn't one where he saw drones. So it's so bizarre. And then you had people like Bill Burr come out saying that they did a great job. I feel lucky, and I think everybody did a great job. What are you talking about, dude?
Hey, it's very good to see you. I heard you have to evacuate your home.
Yes. Like most people, I had to. I got lucky, the winds moved, but the fire was coming and all that stuff. So I feel lucky. And I think everybody did a great job.
Yeah.
Unlike the internet,
What? They did a great job. What are you talking about, dude? I don't think they did a great job. They could have easily stopped this from happening the way it did. How about having filled water reservoirs? That might be a good start. Or how about working fire engines? They have numerous fire engines needing repairs. Or stop with these ridiculous checks on all the fire engines coming in from other states and countries like Mexico and Canada, having them getting emission tests before they could even go put out a fire. How about that? But of course, on top of this, you had the Kardashians paying $2,000 an hour to hire professional firemen to make sure their house didn't go under. You had also them canceling insurance, all these things.